A doctor, a real, licensed Nobel Prize-winning doctor, looked at a petri dish full of bacteria and drank it. Not by accident. On purpose. To prove a point. And here's the thing. It worked. Science gets a reputation for being boring. Textbooks. Formulas. Stuff you memorize for a test and immediately forget. But then you actually look at what scientists have done, like the actual stories. And it turns out, science is just unhinged people doing unhinged things and occasionally winning Nobel Prizes for it. This video is 8 of those stories. Real events. Real people. Real science. They just happen to sound completely made up. By the end of this, I promise you, you will have at least 3 things you immediately need to tell someone. Let's go. It's 1984. A doctor named Barry Marshall has a theory. Stomach ulcers, which at the time doctors believed were caused by stress, are actually caused by a specific type of bacteria. The medical community's response? No. Not like, interesting hypothesis, let's explore it. Just, no. So Marshall did what any completely rational scientist would do. He took a petri dish full of Helicobacter pylori, the bacteria he believed caused ulcers, and he drank it. He got sick within days, developed gastritis, inflammation in his stomach lining, took antibiotics, cured himself, documented the whole thing, and the medical establishment still pushed back for years. But eventually, he won the 2005 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. The man gave himself a stomach disease to win an argument, and won. I want that energy in my life, honestly. And before you think, okay, one unhinged doctor, fine. No, no, this is a pattern. Werner Forssmann, 1929. He's a young surgical resident in Germany. He wants to prove that you can thread a catheter, a thin, flexible tube, directly into the human heart. His supervisors said no, too dangerous. So he did it to himself. He inserted the catheter into a vein in his own arm, then slowly guided it while awake, by the way, up toward his heart. Then, and this is the part that gets me, he walked down a flight of stairs to the radiology department to get an X-ray to prove it had worked. With a tube in his heart. Walking downstairs, his supervisors fired him. He won the Nobel Prize in 1956. You're fired to Nobel Prize. Honestly, kind of inspiring. Deeply terrifying, but inspiring. Okay, this next one is disgusting. I'm going to warn you, and then I'm going to tell you anyway. 1800s. Yellow fever is devastating the American South. Nobody knows how it spreads. A medical student named Stubbins, Firth, incredible name by the way, completely real, decides he's going to prove it isn't contagious. His method? He poured infected vomit into open cuts on his arms. He dripped it into his eyes. He inhaled it. And then, and I'm not making this up, he drank it. He did not get sick. So he concluded yellow fever is not contagious. And he was technically correct, but for entirely the wrong reason. Yellow fever is dangerous, just transmitted by mosquitoes. The late-stage vomit he was using didn't have enough active virus to infect him, so he survived. But his conclusion, half right, and went down in history as the guy who drank vomit for science. Science is wild. Okay, we've had bacteria drinking, self-catheterization, and infected vomit. The human stories are done. Now we're going into the non-human stuff, and somehow it gets weirder. There's a creature called a tardigrade. You've probably heard of them. Microscopic. 8 legs. Look like tiny water bears. Scientists decided to test how tough they actually were. They sent them to space. No suit, no oxygen, no protection, just exposed to the vacuum of space and solar radiation. And they survived. Not most of them, not some of them, they survived. They have this ability called cryptobiosis. Basically, they shut down almost all biological activity, pull their legs in, and wait it out. Radiation, vacuum, extreme temperature. Tardigrade, okay. They are genuinely, probably the most indestructible things alive, and they're the size of a grain of sand. Makes you feel kinda bad about complaining when it's hot outside. There is a jellyfish called Turritopsis dowarnii. When it gets old, or sick, or stressed, it doesn't die. It reverts. It turns itself back into an earlier stage of life. Essentially, resetting, then growing up again, then doing it again. Theoretically, it can do this indefinitely. Scientists call it biologically immortal, which is a phrase that sounds like science fiction and is just a real thing that exists. Now, it can still be eaten. It can still get sick from the wrong things. But on its own, left to its own devices, it just keeps going. There's a whole ocean full of things we don't understand. And this jellyfish is out there, somewhere on its third or fourth life cycle, completely unbothered. Okay, this one kept me up a little. There's a fungus, Ophiocordyceps, and it infects ants, but not in a normal infects and kills way. It controls them. The fungus manipulates the ant's behavior, forces it to climb up a plant stem to a very specific height at a very specific time of day, and then kills it there. And the perfect position for the fungus to grow and release spores onto the ants below. It's not just killing the ant, it's using the ant as a vehicle, as a launch platform. The Last of Us is literally based on this. It's a real thing. Cordyceps is real. The zombie ant phenomenon is real. I just want everyone to feel appropriately unsettled by that. 1964. Two radio astronomers, Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson, are working with a massive antenna in New Jersey, and they keep getting this weird constant static noise, coming from everywhere, all directions, all the time. They check everything, they recalibrate, they consider interference from New York City, and then they notice pigeons have been nesting in the antenna. They clean out the nest. And the paper actually describes this as white dielectric material. They clean the pigeon droppings out of the equipment. The noise persists. They eventually contact other scientists who had been theorizing about something called cosmic microwave background radiation, essentially leftover energy from the Big Bang. The noise was the Big Bang. They were hearing the literal echo of the beginning of the universe, and their first assumption was birds. They won the Nobel Prize in 1978, and I just think there's something beautiful about that. The most important discovery in cosmology of the 20th century almost got written off as a pigeon problem. Science isn't always some sleek, precise thing. Sometimes it's cleaning bird poop off an antenna and accidentally finding the origin of everything. So, a man drank bacteria, won a Nobel Prize. A man threaded a tube into his own heart and walked to get an X-ray. Nobel Prize. A guy drank vomit. Got it half right. Technically a win. A microscopic animal survived space, unprotected. A jellyfish has been alive since before you were born and plans to stay that way. Ants are getting zombified by a fungus as we speak. And two guys almost gave up on the origin of the universe because they thought it was a bird problem. Science is not boring. Science is people doing the most unhinged things imaginable and occasionally being right about it. If you want more videos where I take real things and refuse to let you be bored by them, subscribe. It's literally one button. And genuinely, leave a comment with whichever story you're going to go tell someone today. I want to know which one got you. I'll see you in the next one.